I didn't even turn on the microphone, y'all. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I just decided why not sit down and show you what I'm using to learn Japanese as a foreigner living in Japan, going to a Japanese language school. So at my school, we actually don't have a lot of textbooks and resources. We mainly just use one single book, and then we have a kanji book, but I also do study myself outside of class because that is a very big part of being in a Japanese language school. If you did not know, you do have to study on your own time. Studying in class, doing the homework is not enough. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the grammar books that we're currently using. And if you've ever even wondered or have had any interest on learning Japanese, you already probably know these books, but we do use the Mina no Nihongo series for grammar. This is a book that I would probably not recommend for self-teaching, at least in my opinion. I would not self-teach with these series, especially because in the grammar books, there are no actual explanations. It's all just exercises, and that's really hard to learn with unless you buy the explanation book that goes with it. It does have explanation books in other languages besides English. I do know they have Spanish, French, Chinese, but obviously, since my first language is English, I would recommend, if you want to get into the Mina no Nihongo books, to also buy the explanation book in your language. Because like I said, the grammar books are mainly just exercises and there's no actual explanation behind the grammar. So this is a good book if you really want to exercise writing and reading. I would say that. So if that's not your strong suit, I would highly recommend getting into the Mina no Nihongo books. Sometimes my cats just be looking into thin air and I'd be thinking like, is there someone else in here? So we used these in the first 3 months of language school, and the first 3 months in my language school does get you through the entirety of the first book. So we are currently on the second book of Mina no Nihongo, and it does also come with an explanation book. We finished chapter 27 before the spring break, so when we come back from break, we'll be on chapter 28. In the first book, there's 25 chapters, and in the second book, there is, 50. There's 50 in the second book. I'm not entirely sure what resources we're going to use when we're done with the second book, but I will keep you updated. So the chapters always start with sentence examples on each grammar point that you learn in that chapter, and then it also has a scene or a little skit. And I'm not sure if these are only the Mina no Nihongo books that are being sold to schools or if they're every Mina no Nihongo book, but they do come with a CD inside that does have the listening practices on them. I'm not sure if it has the skits on them as well, because we watched the skit, we mimic the skit in class, and then we also have listening practices, but they do come with a DVD for the listening practice, and I don't own a CD player, so I can't use them. Then it automatically starts going into Rinshu. What is that in English? Exercises. So it automatically goes into exercises for you to do for the grammar points. Like I said, I would not recommend this for self-study unless you want a challenge, then good on you. So obviously, if you know anything about Japanese language, you know that the alphabets are hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Kanji is difficult. Even Japanese people have a hard time with kanji, so if you're struggling with kanji, this is actually a good book that I would recommend you use. So this is the kanji book that we are using at my Japanese language school. Take a shot every single time I say Japanese language school, because Jesus Christ. It is the Kanji Tamago series. I highly recommend this one, actually. The only thing is that the explanations, they're kind of just examples with that kanji. And I actually really like this book. It does give you space to practice the stroke order of the kanji, which is very important if you plan on learning Japanese. The stroke order is very important. If you go to a language school and they see you doing the wrong stroke order, they probably will call you out on it. So in the past, I did try to use the James Heisek kanji book, the Remember the Kanji. However, I just could not get into it. Maybe I'll try again now that I'm more advanced. So this one just feels like it's kind of kid friendly. So I would highly recommend the Kanji Tamago series. So that's literally it. That is all of the resources that we are currently using at my Japanese language school. I do think that if you do plan on going to a language school in any country, you do have to invest in your own time and self-study with more resources that they don't give you. Because at least for me, I don't think this is enough for me to fully understand Japanese. I do have to constantly look up grammar explanations on YouTube or on multiple different websites that explain Japanese grammar. So currently my favorite YouTuber who explains each chapter in the Mino no Nihongo grammar books is Takashi, and he just explains everything so fluidly, and it just makes sense when he explains it compared to sometimes when I learn in class. I will be completely lost the entire class and I go home and I watch his YouTube video and things just magically make sense. It also probably could be because he is speaking in English, but he is probably my favorite YouTuber that explains the Mino no Nihongo books. Another resource that I've actually just started to use is Hayai Learn, because I've seen everyone on TikTok talk about that website. It is not free, so if you're not interested in paying in that, totally understand. I only did it because my weakest link is listening and speaking when it comes to Japanese. Obviously, you can't communicate with people if you can't listen and if you can't speak. I just thought that would be a better resource besides the Mino no Nihongo. I'm not entirely sure if it is an AI-based website, and I'm not too particularly fond of AI, but I kind of did hear a lot of good reviews on it on TikTok, and I got pulled into the hype, so I did subscribe to it for a year. I'm gonna see if it's actually worth it. At the end of the year, I will let you know if you're interested. You'll just have to remind me because my memory sucks. Maybe it's just the way the Hayai Learn is set up. It just makes sense to me. I don't know. And also in the past, I have used Wamikani to learn kanji. I highly recommend that website. I loved it. At a certain point, you do have to pay for it, but I believe the first 3 levels are free, and it's not going to take you like 2 seconds to get to the first 3 levels. So I would highly recommend it if you're learning kanji. And the most greatest resource that I could ever recommend to anyone learning Japanese is YouTube. It's social media. Find content that you would watch in your native language and that actually interests you in that language. I've added a bunch of shows to my Netflix watch list. Sometimes I listen to podcasts when I'm on my way to class. Even if you don't understand a single thing, that is the best thing to do. Like before I came to Japan, I watched that movie Suzume. That's what it is, Suzume. I felt like I could still follow along with what was happening and still kind of somewhat make up in my own head what's happening in the situation. Although I've seen the movie before, that's kind of the point of comprehensible input, is to sometimes watch what you've already watched over and over and over again until you can understand it, and that actually works. Alright, so far I've talked about the grammar resources, the kanji resources, and the listening. Next is speaking and writing. I would highly recommend writing in a diary. Writing your grocery list in Japanese. Writing on a sticky note if you want to remember something in Japanese. Anything you need to write down, write it in Japanese. Because that will help you realize the words that you do not know and the grammar points that you do not know. Same thing for speaking. You can go online to apps like HelloTalk or italki and speak with native speakers. Always proceed with caution when you talk to strangers on the internet. Those are great resources to talk to people in Japanese. I'm not yet at the point that I can read a book. However, you can always just buy manga and try to read it that way and translate. Or you can get apps like NHK Easy News or Todai Japanese, which I believe is just Japanese news, to practice reading. So yeah, those are all of the resources that I use to learn Japanese currently as a foreigner living in Japan, going to a Japanese language school. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will do my best to answer all of them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what else you want to know about living in Japan and going to a Japanese language school, and I will do my best to let you know what's going on. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!